report on his investigation into the Clinton email probe.
Well, somebody leaked it because they're afraid it's going to get changed. It proves that we never needed a special counsel.
And another big bombshell about the Iran deal.
It looks like the Obama administration was advising the Iranian government how to circumvent U.S. law.
No one who defends our country in uniform should have to fight for their lives when they come back. We're allowing our veterans to get access to the best medical care available.
After serving almost 22 years, Alice Marie Johnson walked out of an Alabama prison.
I want to thank President Donald John Trump.
Woo! He's President Trump's attorney and America's mayor. Now you can add dancing machine to Rudy Giuliani's resume.
No offense, Mayor Giuliani. This is dancing.
The video of the year goes to Blake Shelton on Name the Dog.
Thank you, CMT. I love the fans.
Damn, it's a sunny drive on a piece of land. It's paradise as long as I'm with you. That's right. It's like 1, 2, 3, just as easy.
That is one of the Florida Georgia Line's new songs that I was able to promote on Monday's show after listening to it on Sunday.
Fantastic.
I didn't believe you when you said that new music out.
Look at that. They're down with the crowd. That's one of the things that makes the CMTs so A-OK.
Yeah, if you missed the CMTs last night, we've got all the highlights for you this morning.
Carrie Underwood made history.
She did. 18 awards.
Most honored woman in history.
We were talking about it earlier. We would not even know about Carrie Underwood or Kelly Clarkson without American Idol back in its prime.
Well, it made it easier to become a big star because that was the #1 show in the world right now. But then after it was so successful, then there were a bunch of copycat shows. Now there's a bunch of them.
When we were growing up, we got trophies and plaques and certificates, and we kept them,
You
right?
got a 4th place.
Broad jump in the summer recreation, yeah. So we kept
Congratulations.
them. And then all of a sudden you begin at a certain age and your parents say, can you take these?
Right.
Like Carrie Underwood has so many trophies and plaques.
Right.
At one point, is our husband go, are you going to put these somewhere? They're just collecting.
You're just bitter because you got 4th place.
Yeah,
and the broad
anything
jump.
you tried.
She's got 18 #1s. You've got 1 4th place?
Listen, I'm just saying, I kept mine, but does Carrie Underwood, do you keep it when you're that decorated?
It's 18. Of course you keep it.
You do?
Sure.
All of them?
This from the 2nd clarinet player in the band?
I was 3rd clarinet, in 8th grade.
You know who may not get 1st place for CIA director or for FBI director is James Comey. And that is where we begin this morning.
That was a transition.
I tried, and I missed it. I went to CIA, not the FBI. But that is where we start this morning. The watchdog, the DOJ watchdog, finds that disgraced former FBI director James Comey defied authority during the Clinton investigation as the release date for, of course, this document, the IG report, is expected to come out in a matter of days.
Indeed. In fact, the specific leak says that Comey should have talked to the Attorney General and the Department of Justice before he went out on TV and announced all those things regarding Hillary Clinton and her email. And they specifically call him out for ignoring the calls and the objections from the Department of Justice. They said, you can't do it. But he did it, and that's where insubordination came from. And Alan Dershowitz says the fact that we're learning this from the Inspector General report, the fact that the Inspector General is on the case, we don't need no Robert Mueller. Watch.
It proves that we never needed a special counsel. We have the Inspector General. He is independent. He does a great job. All of this could have been done through the Justice Department. Regular lawyers. You don't need to bring in a multi-million-dollar group of people with a target on the back of specific individuals. That's not the way justice should operate.
And by the way, this is the least interesting part of the IG report for us. It's like ancient history. It's almost like going back to the Clinton dress mess, because this is a cavalcade of errors. Loretta Lynch,
which we knew at the time.
Right. Loretta Lynch never should have met with Bill Clinton, should have recused herself.
And she gets called on it.
And James Comey comes out and says how wrong clearly Clinton acted, but I'm not going to prosecute. So it was the beginning of the outrage on the left. It would end with the mutual outrage on both sides. And James Comey saying, I'm the smartest guy in every room I'm in. So the rest I'm more curious about than this part.
Well, the President of the United States a couple of days ago on Twitter said, I hope now that the draft report is circulating on Capitol Hill and throughout the Department of Justice, I hope nobody's changing it to make the FBI or the DOJ look better. Although Joe diGenova said on our air last night, he said that that it was his impression, and he used to work at the DOJ, that Rod Rosenstein and his people are essentially sanitizing the report so that the people at the FBI don't look bad. Because what we've seen so far, kind of
we had Judge Napolitano on the couch earlier, and he said the reason we may be seeing these leaks is you have people from within that are worried that there will be the scrubbing. They're trying to take out parts of the IG report that make certain people look bad.
And maybe the networks, maybe these people are saying, I want you to see the version before it gets scrubbed. So
although
maybe
Congress, according to Dershowitz, Congress has the power. If they feel like they're not getting everything that was originally in that report, they have the power to turn back on or what to say, we need to have all of it.
But ultimately, he will sign off on, this is my final report. Right now, it's still at the draft stage, and they're allowing people who are named to have a rebuttal. How's it going to turn out? Stay tuned.
So we want to reintroduce you, in case you missed the first hour of the show, to John Kiriakou. In case you don't know, he was a very respected CIA guy that was at the forefront of the war on terror. Right after 9/11, he was on the ground in a lot of these so-called black sites. So he was investigated for leaking during the Bush administration and exonerated. And as soon as President Obama won, John Brennan, who had it out for John Kiriakou, he claims, said, I want this guy prosecuted. And guess who did it? Robert Mueller. And guess who hit him with 5 felonies? Robert Mueller. Guess who was forced to cut a plea deal? John Kiriakou. And he says it's because Brennan and Mueller combined to take him down. 23 months in prison, he's out. And he says, I'm seeing the same pattern happen to this president that landed me in jail. Listen.
Barack Obama had a Nixonian obsession with leaks. He was really the enemy of transparency. He was the enemy of whistleblowers. He was really the enemy of the press. John Brennan was the same way. He had this insane obsession with leaks, except when he was leaking, then it was okay.
So he's asking for a pardon on this. He also says, President, look out, because he has a different view of Robert Mueller than most people have about how Mueller does things. He's determined to fight for the outcome he wants ahead of time.
Interesting that he talks about Brennan and Barack Obama and this obsession with the leaking. Where is that outrage now? If anything, Brennan has now been criticized for his own leaking and for being involved in that.
Just the fact that the George W. Bush administration took a pass on prosecution, and it wasn't until the next guy had the keys to Air Force One that they decided, you know what? We're going to crack down on that guy.
Bruce Feins, his lawyer, and he's really hoping the president will look at his case and send a message by pardoning him.
Yeah. All right. Well, a lot going on today as well in Washington, D.C., and immigration continues to be the topic of conversation, at least within the House. And the lawmakers, they can't seem to find enough common ground to get anything big passed. DACA is continuing to be a sticking point, but Paul Ryan says that there is hope, right? Well, he says that there may be a sweet spot where you've got the Tea Party, you've got the moderates, you've got the Democrats that can come together with something.
Well, hope springs eternal, although it does not look promising right now. However, there was a bit of news. The House of Representatives, by an overwhelming majority yesterday, 394 to 13, passed a $50 million funding bill to fund the fight against MS-13. Of course, you know, the President of the United States has made it very clear during his campaign that that was one of his priorities. Take a look at this. It's the mayor of Philadelphia, the city of brotherly love, singing and dancing after a judge ruled that Philly was right and the feds were wrong.
A sanctuary city, yeah.
And what he was celebrating was the fact that a judge ruled that the federal government cannot cut off grants to Philadelphia over how the city deals with undocumented illegals.
How do you think angel parents are watching that this morning? Watching that dance, watching that celebration. Angel parents, of course, are those that have lost a child from an illegal criminal in this country. And their life will never be the same after that. But watching that mayor dance, I mean, you can imagine how upset that would make them.
And some say, well, law enforcement's happy because they want people here who are here illegally, who didn't commit crimes, to be able to talk freely. Those people are not targeted by ICE. People aren't walking around picking up the streets because their papers aren't in order. It's those who violate the law that are the issue, and those people want to be protected. But now the sanctuary cities, it's really two Americas in many cases.
It's a great point. Yeah.
With the $50 million to fight, clearly to fight the violence, gang violence with MS-13, there are some Democrats who are wary of it. Congressman Luis Gutierrez, he's a Democrat from Illinois. He said, quote, on a podcast. Here's the strategy of Donald Trump. He beats up on Latinos and immigrants. It's really a political strategy for the fall 2018 elections. Right? He wonders.
Well,
That's his
but by
point
the
of
way,
view.
if that is a strategy, it's the worst strategy ever. The fastest growing group in the country are the Hispanics, and the Republicans did a forensics on what they should do and what they've been doing wrong leading up to the last election. It was reach out to the Hispanic community. So if that's what Congressman Gutierrez hopes Republicans do, because it would be one of the stupidest political things ever. What he's doing is focusing on illegals who aren't voting anyway.
Yeah. Meanwhile, we're curious who exactly is running camera 2, because there was a crazy zoom in right there.
They just wanted to see us
was
close
that
up
you,
this
Jillian?
morning.
Oh, yes, that was definitely my fault. I apologize.
Stop touching that
Jillian,
thing.
how scary do we look close up?
No, you look beautiful, Abby.
Just you.
Always,
Just Brian.
Okay?
Right. Well, you know, by the way, that was a robot.
Yes,
it was
it was.
a robot.
Yeah.
It was
Taking over.
the camera Rumba.
Taking over
that
the
just
world.
moved.
Jillian,
All right,
what's going on?
Let's get you caught up on this, because just moments ago, Alice Marie Johnson speaking out as a free woman for the first time in 21 years. Johnson telling CBS President Trump won't regret his decision to commute her life sentence.
I would tell President Trump, thank you so much, that I am going to be that one that is going to make you so proud. And I hope that my life will encourage him to do this for others too.
The president making the call after meeting with Kim Kardashian, who asked him to drop her drug charges. Johnson will give her first cable interview on the story tonight at 7 o'clock Eastern. Houston's Hobby Airport getting back on track after a bomb scare. Panicked passengers forced to evacuate a checkpoint after TSA agents found a toy grenade inside a bag. Turns out that fake explosive belongs to a Boy Scout. It's since been removed and the boy won't face charges. This is the second bomb scare at a Houston airport in less than 24 hours. Today, Japan's Prime Minister Shinzo Abe will meet with President Trump at the White House. They're expected to discuss security concerns ahead of the North Korea summit and the fate of 12 Japanese citizens abducted by the rogue regime in the 1970s and 80s. And we are now just 6 days away from President Trump and Kim Jong-un's historic meeting in Singapore. And look at this, the royal family taking over country music.
We've got breaking news.
Look who has appeared in the procession. Is that the Queen?
I believe it is. I saw it with the cover queen, not be the queen.
The CMT Music Awards kicking off last night with a spoof of the royal wedding, and Carrie Underwood making history. Underwood taking home the award for Female Video of the Year. This was her 18th win, making her the most awarded artist in the show's history. Congratulations to her.
Country music is the very best that this country has to offer, I think. Good,
Right.
just good people, good talent.
And
Just
it's a
fun to
good
watch.
show. That's why people
Yes,
love
good
it.
show.
All right, Jillian, thank you very much.
All right, 13 minutes now after the hour. Hi. It's the bombshell report the media is not talking about. The Obama administration giving Iran access to our financial system. I'm not kidding. Will anyone be held accountable for this, question mark?
Plus, liberal comedian Samantha Bee returns to the TV, apologizing for her vulgar comment about Ivanka Trump. Well, kind of.
It is a word I have used on the show many times, hoping to reclaim it. This time, I used it as an insult. I crossed the line, I regret it, and I do apologize for that.
She uses the word all the time.
And
What?
then claims it.
Dana Lash, here to react. You don't want to miss that. She's coming up.
Claims it.
When the mama sang us to sleep, but now we're stressed out.
All right, you got this new bombshell report that says the Obama administration gave Iran access to the U.S. financial system.
Senate Republicans revealing the Treasury Department granted a specific license to allow Iran to exchange $5.7 billion into U.S. currency back in early 2016, despite the U.S. sanctions prohibiting it, and the government saying we're not going to do it.
Wow. However, Iran was not successful since the two U.S. banks, get this, refused to convert the money.
Here to discuss is United Against Nuclear Iran Veterans Council advisor, retired Staff Sergeant Robert Bartlett. Staff Sergeant, good morning to you.
Good morning, Steve. How are you?
I'm doing okay, but I'm kind of shocked because the administration during Barack Obama's year, at the conclusion, they said, we're not going to grant access to the U.S. financial system to help Iran, but that's exactly what they did.
Yeah, it's a double standard, seems like to me. If I did anything like that, any kind of financial support to a terrorist organization, I'd be in prison.
You would. Absolutely.
So,
thankfully, Robert, you know, there were these two banks over there that said, we're not going to get involved in this because we could get in big trouble.
That's good. Yeah, they, you know, they were abiding by the law, you know, instead of doing an end around the law. And they would end up as a scapegoat in the end, and so they were smart in not doing it. You know, double standard. That's why Trump was elected.
Right. And I tell you, Robert, what did they do to deserve this deal? What did they do to get their unfrozen money delivered in pallets? What did they do to get access to our financial system, which later was denied? They did things like when we were in the Iraq and trying to settle down the insurgency, they fueled it. And they had EFPs that helped with like IEDs on steroids. And you know that personally, correct?
Yeah, that's what I was hit by as an Iranian bomb, so that's why I'm deeply involved in this, because I know I'm a direct result of it. My buddy was killed next to me because of it, so I had to speak out for him and be his voice where he no longer has one because of Iran.
Sure.
So.
Robert, this is a stunning report that Senate Republicans have unveiled, and yet when it came out yesterday, you would think that it would be leading every newscast. I mean, if it was happening during the Trump years, it would be the lead story everywhere right now. Zero time spent at the Big Three covering this yesterday.
Well, I'm glad you guys are. At least somebody's getting the news out here. The American public needs to know the truth. No matter what it is, we need to hear the truth. Not to jade it or make it your own truth, but the truth has nothing added to it and nothing taken away from it. The truth matters, and the public need to know about it. You know,
and the
so
public
they can
needs
hold
to know.
politicians example.
And Robert, the public needs to know that sanctions got loose, money came into Iran, and it went to weapons, Hezbollah, and Syria. And that's why these riots are happening throughout that country. So now that we pulled out and they're enriching uranium again, hope these people understand what kind of government they have. Robert, thanks so much. I'm glad you're fighting, fighting and speaking out.
Yeah, I appreciate it, Brian. Thanks for having me on.
Thank you for your service, sir. All right, we're going to step aside. On the other side of a brief timeout, Dana Lash.
Shirt so sexy it hurts.
Oh yeah, we are back with this. The quick headlines for you. He is shirtless and he loves it. Vladimir Putin shutting down naysayers while responding to questions about why we see him shirtless so much. The Russian president saying this: when I'm on vacation, I see no need to hide behind the bushes, and there's nothing wrong with that. Okay, like Brian.
Yeah, does he vacation with his photographer?
And yes, he probably does. It appears that Russian state TV may have photoshopped a smile onto Kim Jong-un's face. This is the original photo of the stern face that he was making meeting with the Russian foreign minister. But take a look at this. It is a close-up of that same picture. But the dictator, as you can see, looks a lot happier in there.
That's a huge smile.
The TV company not yet commenting on that.
Who knew? Meanwhile, in other news, domestically, liberal comedian Samantha Bee back on TBS last night, apologizing in a way for her awful attack on the daughter of the president, Ivanka Trump.
It is a word I have used on the show many times, hoping to reclaim it. This time, I used it as an insult. I crossed the line. I regret it, and I do apologize for that. I never intended it to hurt anyone except Ted Cruz. Civility is just nice words. Maybe we should all worry a little bit more about the niceness of our actions.
So I love shows that end with a lesson, and here to see if we learned anything from the Samantha Bee show last night is Dana Lash. She has her own show where she learns a lot. Hey, Dana, do you always end with a lesson we should learn from the Dana Lash show when you're done?
No, but that's a really good idea, Brian. I think I'm going to incorporate that beginning today. I'm going to start today.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, right? I know. I just need a helpful
I missed
dog.
that show, Brian.
Right, sure.
So, you know, what did you think of Samantha Bee's apology? At the end, she made it pretty clear that she was sorry for using that word, but at the same time, it diminished her ultimate big picture point, which was about immigration in this country, and she doesn't like the way Donald Trump is handling it.
Yeah, I think that was just an excuse. And I love how she says, well, I say this word on my show all the time. Well, I don't think America knows that because America doesn't watch her show. So maybe she does, but we just, why in the world, out of all words to try to reclaim, would you try to reclaim that one? And you don't reclaim a word by using it in an insulting manner against another woman. That's not reclaiming the word. That's joining along with the gang. And Samantha Bee apparently didn't pick up on that. And furthermore, as she finally realized, she hijacked her own intent to bring attention to illegal immigration by using this term, and that's what everyone talked about, and no one talked about anything else. But this is the most that anyone has talked about her. So I don't feel sorry for her because she got what she wanted. She used this word because she wanted to be shocking. She wanted to expand her name recognition. And she did, but she's not recognized in a good way, nor do people identify her as being someone who is smart or humorous.
Yeah, you didn't used to have to be vulgar to be funny. Somehow it's turned into that these days. I want to get your thoughts, though, on Alice Johnson. That is the big news that broke yesterday, the sentence of being commuted yesterday by President Trump. You think it's a good thing? Obviously, this is something that Kim Kardashian was very passionate about. She met with the president last week. They had that photo together. Before we get your thoughts, though, let's play Alice Johnson this morning on CBS and her reaction. We'll get it in a moment. So what is your reaction off the top here?
Well, I think it's incredibly interesting that Kim Kardashian has had more effect politically than Samantha Bee has had, and has also had a better impact on the headlines for all the haters out there. But even more so, I think that this is yet another instance where the administration is making good on promises from the previous administration. Because remember, under the Obama administration, we had a lot of lip service about taking the first steps towards prison reform, particularly for nonviolent offenses. And that's what this president has given more attention to. And he actually, with the commutation of this sentence of Alice Johnson, I mean, he showed that he's willing to listen to people who come to D.C. to try to affect change. And furthermore, he does believe that prison reform is a serious issue. And I think that a lot of people on the left are incredibly angry to see a Republican administration follow through on these promises.
And then the soundbite of her being released from prison after 21 years where she said, thank God for Donald J. Trump, hallelujah. Another bit of news, the ACLU, Dana, is filing suit against the federal government because on the 2020 census, they're going to ask, essentially, are you in the country legally or illegally? And they don't think that's fair.
Right. No, they don't think it's fair because they don't think it's fair that people caught on to their game to inflate voter rolls. And those with the ACLU have already shown their hand here. In fact, in numerous articles, they've said over and over again that they're worried about the effect that this is going to have on representation in Washington, D.C. They're worried about what this is going to mean. Exactly. This is all about, it's all about voting. It's all about whether or not they can sway a particular district or a particular state or area from Democrat to Republican. That's what this all comes down to. And it's really unfair to tie the hands of the American public and prevent them from being honestly and accurately represented in Washington, D.C. because one ideology wants to inflate voter rolls with individuals who are not here legally. And that's the whole game on this.
Dana, what did you make of the mayor of Philly dancing after they passed sanctuary city policies? Did you see that?
I did catch a little bit of that. Yeah, that's not, first off, the dancing, that's a whole other thing entirely. But I don't like to see elected officials celebrate passing sanctuary city policies because it seems insulting to law-abiding Americans. I mean, you're celebrating passing something that is actually coddling criminality and endangering law-abiding Americans. That's nothing to celebrate.
Yeah, tell that to Rahm Emanuel and Governor Brown. If they're dancing in their own way at this moment, though, they feel so different than a lot of America.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's just an affront. It's an affront to civility and it's an affront to legality. I mean, we are a nation of laws. Everyone is equal before the law and everyone is equal under it when it's broken.
Yeah.
There you go.
The dance judging we'll get to another day. Dana, good to have you on this morning.
Yeah, the dancing is horrific. That's a whole other thing.
We'll see you soon.
All right, 30 minutes before we're done, in just a few hours, President Trump and Japan's Prime Minister will meet in Washington. Then they're going to have a working lunch. Then they'll say goodbye. And then the president will meet with the Secretary of State. Topping the agenda will be a preview of the big meeting in Singapore. We'll talk about it.
Plus, dogs, of course, are man's best friend. But these two pups are also a toddler's partner in crime, the adorable escape that was all caught on camera.
Finally. But more. We've got some from the CMT Awards last night. Here's Devin Dawson performing All on Me.
When it don't add up, you can count on me. When you look, don't get high on me. Make it slow, take your time on me. Settle in, let it out, come and lay on me. When it gets heavy, put the weight on me, baby, put.
Are there real people in our control room or is it robots?
I'm pretty sure that was the same shot from yesterday. I think it's video footage.
Same clothes, same everything.
Really, I wonder if Hogan Gidley's dressed the same way he was yesterday, or is this? No, this is live because it's a different outfit. He's the White House
Always a pocket square,
Deputy
though.
Press Secretary. Welcome, Hogan.
Hey, thanks for having me. Good morning, everybody.
Okay, so the President of the United States is going to sit down with the Prime Minister of Japan a little later on today. And, you know, the people who are looking at the tea leaves, Hogan, are saying, well, obviously, Mr. Abe is going to appeal to Mr. Trump. Don't forget about us when you sit down with Kim Jong-un.
Look, this is an historic summit that's forthcoming. Today, the president obviously will meet with Prime Minister Abe, as you just alluded to. I can't get ahead of their conversation, but Japan is an incredible partner and ally for this administration, this country. The president has an amazing relationship with Prime Minister Abe. I'm sure they're going to talk several things: North Korea, trade, China. All those things are going to be on the table for this discussion later this afternoon.
So, yeah, and the president would like the focus to simply be on North Korea. That is what he's most passionate about today and tomorrow through next week. But there's, of course, as always, headlines about what's going on with the FBI and the DOJ and the investigations. And yesterday, DOJ watchdog finding that James Comey defied authority as the FBI director. It was a leak, obviously. We're getting tidbits from this big IG report expected to come out in a matter of days and weeks here. What do you make of the fact that it leaked and what it said about James Comey?
Look, obviously James Comey is disgraced. He's a liar and a leaker. He's disgruntled. Everyone knows who James Comey is at this point. The book tour he went on was disgraceful. People understand at this point what he is and who he is and what he's all about. The rank and file members of the FBI are incredible. We all know that. They put in their time every day protecting this nation. But there are some serious concerns at the upper echelons of the FBI. I can't get into too much of the IG report. Obviously, you have to be referred to DOJ for the information there. But I think at this point in this country, the Americans are well aware of who James Comey is and what a deplorable human being he's turned out to be.
Hogan, just to go back to the Singapore summit, is there any plans for the president to meet with somebody he was friendly with? He used to be on The Apprentice, Dennis Rodman, who happens to be the only person, Dennis Rodman, the only person I know who's friends with Kim Jong-un and the President of the United States. If he wants to meet with the president, will you guys be open to that?
Look, we have a schedule set of what we'd like to see accomplished, and what we want is denuclearization in the peninsula. That's been what the president's been talking about: verifiable, irreversible denuclearization. I don't know what part the best rebounder in basketball has to play in that. Listen, he's great on the court, but I think the negotiation should best be left to those who are good at it, and President Trump is the best. And so we expect he and Kim Jong-un to have an amazing conversation without Dennis Rodman in tow.
Well, we'll see. Meanwhile, it's interesting, this administration...
So that's a maybe.
Yeah, we'll see. Hogan, this administration has commissioned a study. It's a new report from the Department of Justice and the Department of Homeland Security. And they try to figure out how many crimes were committed by people who are in this country illegally during the first quarter of 2018. And the numbers are jaw-dropping. 250,000 criminal aliens charged with 663,000 criminal offenses in the first quarter. And then, regarding California, more than 1 in 5 people in custody of the Bureau of Prisons were known or suspected aliens.
Right,
Why exactly did the administration want these numbers out?
Well, the administration wants to protect the American people, and too long the policy of this country in regards to immigration has been keep these numbers in the dark, keep the American people in the dark, and not let them understand the data and just what's at stake and what they face. And in many instances, it's their very lives. What you're showing there are those numbers: 633,000 criminal offenses, and that includes homicides, about 1,500 of those, 80,000 instances of assault, 45,000 5,000 instances of aggravated assault, also sexual assault, about 8,000 of those. These are horrible crimes and people coming to this country illegally and unlawfully. We've got to fix this. We've got to shed light on this. And for too long, the people of this country have been kept in the dark. This president has come forth and said we want an information campaign to let the people of this country understand what we're up against. And finally, this is transparency at its best. Sunshine being shown on exactly the part of the problem that people have been kept in the dark on for far too long.
And Hogan, lastly, has the president decided for sure if he's going to the G7? There's word that he might send the vice president so he could focus on the Singapore summit. What's the latest?
Look, he is scheduled to go. He is planning to go. I saw some of those reports yesterday, and we all just kind of chuckled and laughed. We were in the meetings. He's going to the G7. There's no plan to pull out of that right now at all.
All right, you heard it there. Hogan, always good to see you.
Thank
busy
you
week
so much
ahead.
for your time.
Right.
Thank you, sir.
Absolutely. Thanks.
All right. No plans to meet with Rodman right now.
That was amazing.
You know, that's the public statement.
Right.
We
you
don't
never
know the backstory.
Exactly.
Just saying.
Jillian does.
Jillian, are you friends with Dennis Rodman, too?
Oh, yes. Yes, we hang out
You guys go
regularly.
way back.
Yes, we go way, way, way back. Good morning to you guys. All right, so this sheriff's office thinks storing rifles inside schools could stop deadly shootings. Officials in Boulder County, Colorado, considering a proposal to let resource officers keep AK-47s in locked vaults steps away from classrooms. The sheriff thinks it could help keep students safe since 2 high schools in the area are between 10 and 15 minutes from the closest police department or sheriff's office. Critics say it could make kids feel unsafe. How much would you pay to get an A? A teacher is out of the classroom after she's accused of taking bribes from students in exchange for good grades. The Philadelphia high school not yet firing Amanda Richardson while they investigate. It's still unclear exactly what type of bribes she was allegedly taking. Mystery solved. A hidden camera reveals how a toddler escapes from her bed in the middle of the night. It turns out the family's 2 golden retrievers were opening up 15-month-old Chloe's door, waking her up in hopes of getting a treat because she would go down and feed them. You can see the 2 dogs jumping on the bed in Arizona. After being smothered by kisses, Chloe walks to the end of the bed and jumps down to make her grand escape. What do you think of that? Isn't that cute?
Story of my life. I've got a golden retriever. That is all they live for. Just that one moment of food or a treat. They will do anything.
Oh, yes, they will.
That's so cute. Thank you.
I think the golden retriever remains the most popular dog in America. Am I correct?
Other than the
Pretty
shedding, they're
darn popular.
perfect.
Right, yeah. That wasn't their fault.
All right. Meanwhile, Janice Dean, the weather machine, has a look at the day ahead.
And how about that toddler, by the way? Fantastic.
Amazing.
Let's take a look at the last 24 hours. Okay, so here in the Northeast, we could have the potential for scattered showers as we get into the weekend. More likely, we're going to see storms across the mid-Atlantic, including D.C. and Philadelphia, areas that have seen so much rain. So be on guard for that. Severe threat across the northern plains, the central plains today. Large hail, damaging winds, isolated tornadoes. Then it's going to remain warm across the south. And if I could, here's what Belmont looks like. In Elmont, New York, 67. We have a big potential triple crown, my friends. Will Justify do it? We will be there to perhaps witness more history. Back to you.
Because she was there live at the Kentucky Derby with a big umbrella.
Right.
Thanks, JD.
Thank you, Janice.
There she goes.
I see her buying a horse sometime and in the future.
Yeah.
That's going to be Janice Dean.
Got to get a lot of money for that.
Right.
They're expensive,
Money is no
those
problem for Janice Dean. She's loaded. President Trump tweeting moments ago about Alice Johnson, now reunited with her family after he commuted her sentence yesterday. Could Rod Blagojevich be next to get a call from the president from prison? We're live next.
Plus, you see her reporting from all over the country, but today it's all about Southern comfort food for Ellison Barber and her mom, Cheryl. They are cooking with friends at the conclusion of today's show.
So excited for that. But first, more from the CMT Awards. Here is Dan and Shay, some of the best, performing Tequila.
Same morning when we were sky high.